Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC San Antonio Vera versus Sandhagen. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. Last week crushed it, man. Both our dogs hit, both our locks hit, and we did get a little home cooking with Lerone Murphy. It is what it is. We got the job done. All of the totals were all right. I think we went 5 of 6 again on picks. So and we've been crushing all year round. It's been a phenomenal year. Hoping to keep this streak going. This is a great card coming up, man. I mean, 13 fight offerings, a good number. It's on a little earlier, which I actually prefer being an old man with kids. So, I mean, at this juncture, it's just going to be one hell of a night, going to be a fun night in front of a crowd. Another week not in the Vegas. Sorry, well, I kind of like the intimate setting of the Las Vegas show with Marab and Jan. It kind of looked old school, but another one not in the Apex. I'll take a big crowd in San Antonio. San Antonio's a little crazy. Be weary of San Antonio judges. We know that British judges are a little weird, which is one of the reasons I locked Lerone Murphy. But there's going to be another one where San Antonio is just known for having some very, very hometown sketchy decisions. So be very weary of people that you're betting that are not from. So if you're betting someone that is going against someone from San Antonio, make sure they're a finisher because Texas they do some shady shit. But instead of just talking about it, let's get into it. Again, it's a great card. It starts off a little interesting with just things you don't really want to deal with on a betting standpoint. But it gets into some really fun stuff, and they're all really fun fights. So, again, very, very first fight of the night, we have Haley Cowan as a minus 135 favorite now, going up against Tamiris Vidal at plus 115. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 190, under 2.5 at plus 155. And just in general, I have a few rules. One, I will not look at the odds until I do tape study. I like kind of just deciding what I think the odds should be. If the person I think should be the favorite is the dog, I auto bet after doing fight tape. If the other thing is when I do locks, I never lock anyone over minus 300, just an FYI. But that's just I like to just kind of do everything myself, see what I think the odds should be. I even jot it down, and if the wrong person is favored, I auto bet the dog. I accidentally saw some of the lines last week going into this just for the first two fights. And I saw Haley Cowan at like plus 230 something. In my mind, I said that is totally off. There is no way, but I need to do the fight tape. Maybe I'm missing something. I went back, I did fight tape, I went to go bet it, and she's minus 135. So really, really missed the boat there. Still a decent line, but it's just Haley's not good. That's why I didn't auto bet. I had to go back and check. She's not that good, to be quite frank with you. You're gonna hear DC. You're gonna hear any of the commentators talk about her being a gymnast, and GSP says that the best art you could have is, the strongest people in the world are gymnasts. All you're gonna hear is about her family lineage and doing gymnastics, which is, I mean, fine. Her striking's okay. Her wrestling's okay. She's just huge. She is very strong. She's more of a size bully. It's kind of like a Jasmine Jasdavicius sort of deal where if she's a lot bigger than the girl, she doesn't need a lot of technique. She can just kind of muscle everything because she's bigger than her. That's how she fights. Her jiu-jitsu is very questionable. When you look at her record, she has what, 2 losses on her record, and they're both by submission. And in that win in the Contender Series, she fought someone that was probably like 2 weight classes under her and gave up her back and was in a pretty rough spot along the way. Might have lost that fight, to be honest with you. So she didn't look good in her Contender Series fight, but let's be frank, she's kind of marketable, so they kind of want her to do well. So that they can push her. But all in all, her cardio is probably her best weapon. It's not crazy good, but it's all right. And everything else is just okay. She's just a size bully and she muscles everything. On the flip side, you have Vidal, who I don't know what to do with this girl. In my mind, she's one of the worst girls in the UFC, but I don't know, man. She doesn't have a lot of fight tape. From what I saw, her striking's okay. She God, if she takes that long fucking entrance to the ring again, her entrance literally took like 5 minutes for her debut against Ramona Pasquale. Even the commentary team was saying, "You better win if you're taking this long to come out." It was very cringeworthy. She's extremely hittable. What I saw on the feet, even though she can dish it out and she throws a ton of power shots. Yeah, she'll throw some flying knees and some spinning back kicks and such. But she does that for about 4 minutes, and then she has a tendency to slow down a ton. Her wrestling didn't look great from what I saw on the regional scene. She hasn't fought a lot of good girls. She was in pretty questionable competition. She did fight Eileen Perez, who's in the UFC. She got absolutely dismantled by her, but you're going to hear everyone talk about the acting job she did. Basically, she took an illegal knee. She looked over at her team and they told her to fake it. And then she just kind of fell out and said she couldn't continue and got a DQ win. It was the sketchiest thing in the world. Like, I've seen some fake stuff, but she literally had a conversation with her team and then fell over and said she couldn't continue. It was the sketchiest thing. I don't trust her. She hits hard, but she gets hit a ton. She has no cardio. I like nothing about this girl, but I don't like anything about Haley Cowan either. My concern is that because Vidal hit so hard, her only win is probably going to be by knockout. And Cowan's never been finished, but she did have a weight cutting issue. She was supposed to fight Eileen Perez, ironically enough, herself a few weeks ago. And she had to pull out of that fight after weight cutting issues. So, how is her health coming back into it just a few weeks later? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to trust her, but there's no way I'm trusting Vidal. So the pick is going to be Haley. The bet is going to end up probably. I really don't hate the under 2.5 at plus 155 because Vidal could gas and Cowan could finish. Or Vidal could just catch her since she throws everything so hard and Haley's coming off of a bad weight cut. So if I'm betting anything, I'm betting the under. But the smart thing is to just stay the fuck away from this fight. Next fight of the night, it's gonna be a fun one. No one knows these guys, but they're just kind of fun action fighters. We have Vinicia Salvador at minus 115 going up against Victor Altamirano at minus 105. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 at minus 115 on 2.5 minus 115 straight pick 'em. Let's start with Salvador. You want to talk about a sketchy schedule? He hasn't really fought anybody either. He's a long rangy striker, and his striking is very good. He hits very hard for someone that's in the flyweight division. They're not necessarily known for being finishers. I mean, he fought JL Fiala, who just broke Makayev's knee. He fought that guy and lost to him, which no shame getting destroyed on the ground by that guy. Otherwise, I mean, that's someone decent he fought. Otherwise, he's not really fighting anyone else. A whole bunch of 5-5, 7-7, record not available, 2-0, 1-2. Like, he's not fighting a lot of great competition. When he does fight anyone relatively decent, he seems to lose. He does slow down in his fights, and he took a very, very big break in between his Contender Series fight. He fought in 2022. He took a big break somewhere along this way. Maybe not as big of a break, just a year. Either or, he has no wrestling. I haven't really seen any of it. The few times I did see someone shoot a takedown, they did get it on him. His jiu-jitsu is a little questionable. He's predominantly just a flyweight striker with power. That's all he is. He's very good at what he does, don't get me wrong. But the cardio does concern me. A lot of his wins, you see round 2, round 1, round 2, round 1, round 2, round 1, round 2. Like, he gets a lot of early finishes because he does tend to slow down a little. So he hits decently hard. On the flip side, you have Altamirano, who's a pretty decent striker in himself. He's fought a decent level. He fought Lacerda. He fought Carlos Candelario. He was scheduled to fight Carlos Moda. He's a pretty decent fighter. He's kind of your generic Mexican boxer. Very good striking. His cardio is his best weapon. He does tend to go for days. His wrestling is very questionable, but neither one of these guys wrestle, so that's perfectly fine. He has a pretty decently good chin. Daniel Lacerda sucks, but hits as hard as anybody in the division. He got rocked clean, fell straight to the ground, popped right back up. So he has a chin on him. He does have a tendency to start slow. He never seems to win first rounds. Carlos Candelario won the first round against him. Lacerda was winning the first round until he came back, but Altamirano knows what he does. He's a good boxer, good cardio. He doesn't hit that hard, but it's death by 1,000 cuts. He does do a lot of body work, which I like a ton, and which should really help him against someone like Salvador, who just wants to kill you, and then gasses out. So I do like Victor all in all. I do think he's going to lose the first round. So my thing is, I'm not betting Victor. I'm going to wait, make sure he loses the first round, and then bet him at like plus 200 or whatever it's going to be after, get a better value because his cardio is very good. Salvador's is not. Salvador's is going to gas, and you're going to get a better price on Victor. So the pick is going to be Victor. The bet is going to be Victor, but I'm going to do it after the first round. He doesn't hit that hard, so he should still be there, and the second round should happen, and then he's just going to take over the fight. All right, next fight of the night is a weird one for me. We have Manuel Torres at minus 155 going up against Trey Ogden at plus 135. Over 1.5 is minus 140. Under 1.5 at plus 110. Let's start with Torres because Torres isn't that good. He's someone I tried to fade in his last fight against Frank Camacho. He has very good striking. He hits very, very hard. He's 27 years old, so he's getting better and better. He's very aggressive, man. He's very, very aggressive. He goes forward and swings bombs the entire time, Terrence McKinney style. Just like McKinney, he can get countered a shit ton. Like as he's throwing it out, he's just leaving his chin in the air, doesn't move his head, and he gets cracked a ton too. But he kind of depends on his Mexican chin. Again, they're notorious for having good chins, and the last two fighters we talked about, it lives up to the hype. The stereotype is real. He throws nothing but hooks, and people just counter with jabs left and right. So it's just very interesting. You see it over and over in every single one of his fights, but he continues to go forward, and this dude is a finisher. I mean, he has 13 wins. How many of them are by knockout? By finish? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has one split decision win. 7, 8, 9, 10. So he has 13 wins, 12 finishes. And in his 2 losses, he got submitted. So those also didn't go the distance. So he has had a total of 15 fights and only one has gone the distance. So this dude is a definition of an action fighter. He is literally Mexican Terrence McKinney, only without wrestling or jiu-jitsu. He just strikes very hard. On the flip side, we have Trey Ogden, who's actually very good at jiu-jitsu. So it's a little sneaky here. Is BJJ is probably the best part of his game. He's just not that good of a wrestler. He's hittable on the feet himself. His striking is all right. He's a little bit of a slow starter, but he is one of these Glory MMA guys, so he's no longer with James Krause. I don't know where he's training out of now. I didn't get a chance to stalk his Instagram and see it all. He tends to slow down a little. His cardio isn't exactly the greatest. But I can't bet Ogden solely on the fact that he lost a striking battle to Jordan Levitt. This is the one where Jordan Levitt just threw leg kicks for 15 minutes and won the fight. It was fighting Trey Ogden. And Trey Ogden is known for having a good win over Daniel Zellberger in his last fight. I think that's more of Daniel getting just his UFC debut. He's 22 years old, and just the bright lights got to him, and he was just gun shy and did nothing. Trey did nothing either. Trey did nothing to win that fight. Daniel lost that fight. There's a difference. I know Trey's never been finished. I'm sorry, I take that back. He's never been knocked out, so you would think that he's going to be perfectly fine. Maybe Manuel will gas and he has a shot to tap him out. That is a possibility, but you lost a striking battle to Jordan Levitt. I'm not betting on you. So the pick is as good as Ogden's BJJ is. The pick is going to be Torres. The bet is going to be Torres. Next fight of the night is probably gonna be fight of the night. This one's an absolute banger. We have CJ Vergara minus 250 going against the aforementioned Daniel Lacerda at plus 210. Over 1.5 is plus 130 in a flyweight fight. Under 1.5 at minus 160. The reason it's plus money for the over 1.5 is this guy Daniel Lacerda, aka Daniel Da Silva. He has like 3 different names. I don't know what's going on here. This is my guy. He's so cool. I love this guy. He's 0-3 in the UFC, and I bet him all 3 times. I can't get this guy right to save my life. He's good, man. It's gonna sound weird. But for the first 4 minutes of the fight, he looks. Eh. For the first 2 minutes of the fight, he looks like he could be world champ. He has very good wrestling. He has very good striking. He has a good ground game. He's very good, man. He hits like an absolute truck. He might be one of the hardest flyweight hitters in the division. So you say, well, where does he go wrong? If he's such a good striker, such a good wrestler, such a good BJJ practitioner, what's wrong with him? I mean, he's only 26 years old. He's a young kid. I think the world of this kid. Here's the issue. He has like by far the worst cardio I've ever seen out of a flyweight in history. Flyweight is known for being real fast and having great cardio. This man has 2 minutes in him. He wins the first 2 minutes every time. He goes out there and kills guys. He dominated Jeff Molina, who was a ranked guy in flyweight. He went out there and he got caught by a knee bar by Little Figgy. That's a very bad luck. That was just unfortunate. Victor Altamirano, who we just talked about and want to bet on, killed him in the first 2 minutes, had him dropped like 3 times, was destroying him. And then when Victor got back up, Daniel said, oh, fuck. And gassed out and fell over. Daniel's super good, man. I think Daniel's a really good fighter. I literally think he could be top 5 in the division if he had 10 minutes of cardio. The man has 2 minutes to get you out of there. And when you look at his record, he has 11 wins, round one, round one, round one, round one. All of his wins are in the first round. He is the most fun flyweight. One of the most fun flyweights I've ever seen. I love watching the guy fight, but he's probably going to get cut with another loss. I can almost guarantee that. On the flip side, CJ's an action fighter too. CJ is very good striking. His cardio isn't the greatest, but he slows down a little, but it's not as bad as Daniel's. His jiu-jitsu is not that great, to be quite frank with you. And his wrestling isn't exactly the greatest either. Like, Daniel's the better fighter. On the feet, you could even say it's a tie for the first round. CJ's a pretty decent striker. I'll give him that. He has some good wins. He beat Bruno for Herrera. He lost to Tyra, but I mean, Tyra's an absolute animal. He beat Clutton Rodriguez, he was an animal, but that was a little sketchy. I thought Clutton won. I had money on CJ, and he got the win, but I thought Clutton won that. And Ode Osborne went out there and kind of pieced him up a little bit and kept taking him down. His takedown defense is not that good. But what I will say is that the Clutton Rodriguez fight, where I thought Clutton won and I got away with one, CJ trains in Arizona. The hometown crowd got behind CJ. Here's the deal. CJ's originally from Texas. And we are in Texas. They are going to announce that he's from Texas, and the crowd's going to get behind him, and we might have 2.0. I do think the judges would lean CJ in a close fight. I think the way I see this playing out, Daniel could he's going to win round one. And then if they do see round two, Daniel's going to slow down. CJ's going to start to take over. If this thing hits the judges by any means, it's going to be CJ. Daniel's going to have to go out there and finish him in the first round. Can he do it? Yeah. Daniel can finish anyone in the first round. Is he going to do it? I don't know. I really don't know. But with it being such a close fight, you never bet Daniel Lacerda, but I can't quit it. I can't quit betting him. He's so fun. I always want to root for him. So the pick is going to be CJ just out of sheer cardio. But the bet's going to be Daniel again at plus 210. It could be his last fight in the UFC. I'm going to ride or die with my guy. All right, next fight of the night is probably going to be the most boring fight, but we do have a Texas native in here. We have Trevin Giles, Preston Parsons, straight 110 pick'em, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 plus 125, under 2.5 minus 155. Let's start with the hometown kid. We had Trevin Giles, the former police officer. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. He has very good wrestling. He has very good striking. He has sneaky good jiu-jitsu. He has a very good schedule. He tapped out Brendan Allen. He beat Bavon Lewis. He's not good. Sorry. He beat Roman DeLeeds, who's a top 10 middleweight currently. All of this is at middleweight. Not all of it is at middleweight, because he also beat Ryan Spann. And Ryan Spann is a top 10 light heavyweight. This fight is at welterweight. Trevin Giles is a tank, man. I love Trevin Giles. I'm pretty sure I saw him live. He's a 73% takedown defense. Trevin Giles has all the makings to be a top 10 guy in the division. Here's the issue with Trevin Giles: his cardio. He doesn't have cardio. Did it look any better at welterweight opposed to middleweight? I don't know, because he had a pretty low pace fight against Louis Koski. He knew the loser was gonna get cut, so he did everything he could to just stay safe. He's very low volume as of late, and that's because he knows he gasses out. So now he just doesn't throw as much. He used to go out there, try to kill you in the first round. If you didn't go out, then you would just kind of capitalize and beat him in the third and tap him out as he quit. That's what kept happening. So then he decided, well, I'm just not going to throw a crazy amount. I'm going to conserve my energy. And I mean, he won, but it didn't look good. It wasn't very exciting. Are we going to get Killer Trevin back since he's in his hometown? I don't know. If we do, is that a good thing with his cardio? I don't know. On the flip side, we have Preston Parsons. Preston Parsons I can't tell if he's good or not. He has really good jiu-jitsu, I can tell you that. He's a pretty decent wrestler. His striking's okay. I've seen improvement every time he fights there. His schedule is all right. I mean, he fought Mike Perry. Evan Elder's sneaky good. Daniel Rodriguez is a good fighter. He's fought some okay guys, but anyone good that he fought, he lost to, so that's a little questionable. He might be a little chinny. D-Rod put him out, and D-Rod's not exactly like a crazy power puncher. Mike Perry knocked him out in the first round. Mike Perry's not exactly a power puncher. And his other loss was by guillotine. I'm pretty sure he got club and subbed. So I don't know, man. He might be a little chinny, to be quite frank with you. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing fighting Trevin Giles. I don't know what version we're getting, but Giles, if he does this low pace kind of boring fight, we are in Texas. And again, Texas has some grease going. Do I think Preston is live? Absolutely. Am I going to pick Preston? Nah. I'm going to pick Trevin Giles, get some hometown cooking. But if I see Trevin get tired at all, because Preston does like to push a pace and he does like to pressure you a little. I think he could break Trevin, to be honest with you. But if Trevin looks like he's starting to break, I don't hate the Preston round 3 or Preston by sub, because that's how it happens to Trevin Giles every single time. He's winning, he gets super tired, and then he gets choked out. It's preferably guillotines every time. So just keep an eye out on that. So the pick is going to be Giles, the bet is going to be Giles, but if he slows at all, you live bet Preston. Next fight of the night might be some more hometown cooking, man. We got Steven Peterson minus 170 going up against Lucas Alexander at plus 145. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 155. Under 2.5 at plus 125. And I say hometown cooking because we have Steven Peterson being at Fortis MMA, which I'm pretty sure is in Texas. So he lives and trains there. I'm pretty sure he's a coach at Fortis MMA. 32 years old. For some reason, I thought he was older than that. He has good jujitsu, very, very good jujitsu. That's the best part of his game. He has a decently high volume, which is weird because he's a punching bag. I think it was Dan Levitt said it best. Like, he's just a human punching bag. He marches forward and he gets the shit kicked out of him and takes it. I don't know if he's ever been knocked out. I'm looking at it here. He's durable, man. He's been knocked out once. He just keeps coming forward. He's had 29 pro fights, and he does not stop coming forward. He just marches forward and eats it. He's not that great on the feet, but he takes so many, and then he throws a spinning back fist. He loves spinning back fists. After he knocked out Martin Bravo with it, he just keeps doing it. But yeah, he's just a grinder. He lets you punch him in the face, marches forward, and tries to get you back. If you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. His wins in the UFC, Chase Hooper is kind of overrated, not that good. Martin Bravo has been cut. Matt Bassetto, not good. Yeah, that's it. Not a lot of good wins. 0 good wins in the UFC. His losses, I mean, Julian Naros is all right. Alex Caceres is pretty good. Luis Pena is not good. Brandon Davis is all right. So it's not like he's losing to world beaters at all. So you kind of know where he is. He's just kind of a gatekeeper. Not even a gatekeeper. He's a litmus test. Are you UFC caliber? If you're UFC caliber, you're going to beat Steven Peterson. If you're not, he's going to expose you. And he does slow down a little bit in fights. But again, he's the hometown guy, so make sure you watch out for him and make sure you watch out for weigh-ins. This man has not made 145 since 2019. It's been 4 years since he's actually made weight. Missed weight against Chase Hooper, missed weight against Julian Erosa. Like he does not make weight ever. So make sure you keep an eye on his weight there. On the flip side, you have Alexander. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with Lucas. He looks the part. He seems okay when you watch his fight tape, but there just feels like there's something missing. He is 27 years old, so it just could be that he's just not experienced enough. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here, which is nice. He has pretty decent striking. He'll probably have a striking advantage in this matchup. Jiu-jitsu. I know he's had a good camp at Fusion X at Fusion, so I mean, you would think on paper it's fine, but I don't know. I All of his losses are by sub. His wrestling doesn't seem to be the greatest. Like, you can get him down. Like, he'll stuff the initial takedown, but if you chain grapple, he's going to go down. But on the flip side, I don't really see Steven Peterson ever chain grappling. So I don't know what we're going to get here. Lucas definitely has fought nobodies. Like, he has no good wins on his record. His best one is Jacob Kilborn. That's not a good look. So we basically have a punching bag slash jiu-jitsu guy who can't really wrestle going up against a striker who can't wrestle, who trains at a jiu-jitsu gym with Phil Rowe and Rodolfo Vieira, like that. All the Souza, all those guys are just good BJJ guys. So I don't know. This is a weird fight. I don't really want anything to do with it. Then you have Peterson being at the hometown gym. If I'm betting anything, I'm probably just betting the over at -1.5 or over 2.5 at -155. That's the safest bet. In regards to a pick, I guess this might just be dog or pass. I'll take Lucas. But I'm gonna bet the over, or if you want to bet Lucas at plus money, you can. I get it, but this is probably just a stay away. All right. Next fight of the night. We have a Daniel Pineda. Oof. The hometown Daniel Pineda plus 225 going up against another hometown, Texas versus Texas, Tucker Lutz minus 265. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 plus 135, under 2.5 minus 165. The reason the over 2.5 is plus money is because of this guy, Daniel Pineda. He's cool. You talk about Daniel Lacerda. Daniel Pineda is 27-14. How many fights is that? He has 330. God, he has 43 fights. Is that what that is? Oh God, don't make me do math. Yeah, he has over 40 fights, and he's gone to the distance. Let's see how many times he's gone the distance, because I know he's never won a decision. So out of his over 40 fights, he's gone to decision 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times. Jesus. Good Lord. He's only gone to decision 4 times, and he lost all 4. So he's the definition of a kill or be killed guy. He was in the UFC, got cut, came back to the UFC. The problem is when he was not in the UFC and he was over in PFL, he beat some really, really good guys. And they found out that he was on the juice. So yeah, he's already a killer. If you give this guy roids and then send him out on the regional scene, he's going to look even crazier. Since coming back to the UFC, he hasn't looked the same. He's looked a little softer. I think this is Pineda without juice. So I don't like that at all. He's 37 years old. Not a fan of that. He's been around. He is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. His striking is good. His jiu-jitsu is very good. His wrestling's okay, but he is kill or be killed, and I don't like him being kill or be killed without juice. I'm not a fan of that. We also haven't seen him for 3 years, man. This guy, the last time he fought was against. Look at all these no contests. The last time he fought, it was against Andre Touchy-Feely in 2021. Sorry. So it's been 2 years. We haven't seen him since 2021. What has he been doing? I don't know. I know he was doing some grappling competitions, but again, that was also in 2021. We haven't seen him in 2 years. He's 37 years old, not a 42% takedown defense. I don't know, man. Not a lot of great things. I think he's super fun to watch, but he also might be a little chinny. Like Andre Feely doesn't hit that hard, And he got dropped like 3 times before the fight was stopped for an eye poke. But I will say, Daniel Pineda is a fucking thug because they asked him how many fingers they were holding up, and he just took a guess. And they're like, "No, you're wrong. This fight is over." So he did everything he could. He did not want to lose that fight via eye poke. The man literally was guessing numbers to try to continue the fight. So I like him. He's a badass. He's fun to watch, but he's 37 and he's kind of falling apart here. On the flip side, Tucker Lutz doesn't hit particularly hard, but I don't know how hard you have to hit to knock out Daniel Pineda at this stage. Tucker's also 28 years old, so he's in that kind of spot where he's going to continue to get better and better each time you see him. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. His wrestling's very good. His striking's pretty decent, to be honest with you. It's pretty good. He can get stuck on his back if you take him down. He doesn't have the greatest get-up game, but again, Pineda's wrestling is just okay at this point. It's not the greatest anymore. He doesn't really have any power, but as aforementioned, how much do you need to actually take out Pineda? And he might just honestly put him out based on sheer exhaustion because he can run a pretty good pace here in Tucker. And he can make you work a ton. And I don't know if Pineda's 37-year-old body can keep up for an entire 15 minutes of Tucker Lutz. So I like Tucker Lutz a lot. Greasy theory. Pineda, he might get cut. He's talking retirement. You never bet retiring fighters, but if he's going to retire, why would you not just juice up a little bit on your way? So if we get this is my last fight, Pineda, I'm going to be on all the gear I can be on. I don't really want to get in his way because juiced up Pineda is real, but USADA Pineda is ass, and I think Lutz destroys him. Which one do I think shows up? Probably USADA Pineda, and I think Lutz gets an easy win. But if Pineda goes out there and gets a quick victory, there is a chance he's on the sauce, and you just kind of got screwed over. So the pick is going to be Lutz. The bet's going to be Lutz, but buyer beware because we don't know what Pineda's about to do. Speaking of people we don't know what they're going to do, we have Chidi Njokuani minus 170 going up against Albert Duraev plus 145. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 120. Under 1.5 at minus 110. Let's start with Chidi Bang Bang. Dude, I love his nickname. It's pretty sick. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here, which is pretty significant, especially because he's the better striker. He's a very good striker. He hits extremely hard. His jiu-jitsu's top notch. His wrestling's not good, and he acknowledged that, so he decided to get very, very good on the ground, and he's good. He's a black belt on the ground, so if you stand with him, he can knock you out. If you take him down, he can tap you out. He's rocking a 75% takedown defense, so it's not as if he just falls over, but, that's not necessarily too hard to take him down. His cardio is weird. I've seen fights where his cardio has looked phenomenal, and then I've seen fights where he gassed out in the second round. You never really know what version you're going to get. And I think part of that is because he's 34 years old. He's not a spring chicken. He's not young. He's fought over in Bellator. He's fought the Contender Series. He's fought regional. He's in the UFC. Like, he's been all across the globe. This is the final version of him, and it's a good version, but sometimes a 34-year-old shows up. Sometimes it shows he still has it. You never know what you're going to get. Good news for him is that he's fighting Albert Duraev, who's also 34 years old. I've seen Killer Albert and I've seen Bad Albert. It's just they're at that age where just sometimes they're just not going to have it that day. He's predominantly going to wrestle. He's a very good wrestler, but his cardio seems to be a little bit of an issue here. He's okay striking, shockingly good on the feet. Struck with Roman Kopylov and did pretty well, and Kopylov is a pretty decent striker. But then did start to get pieced up and had to resort back to his wrestling. So again, his bread and butter is his wrestling, but he's pretty low volume when he's on the feet at that. His jiu-jitsu, it's all right, but he did get knocked out by Buckley. It wasn't a knockout, but essentially his eyes closed and the doctor had to step in. Ramazan Ameev knocked him out, so that's very, very concerning. Anatoly Tokov knocked him out. That's concerning. And then he took a knee in his first ever career loss. So he has 4 career losses, and they're all by knockout. So might be a little on the chinny side. You see the crazy car in his Tapology. You're going to hear everyone talk about how rich this guy is. And he just does MMA for fun. He doesn't need to do this, but he just enjoys competing. So he has all the best trainers, goes out there and he's trying to like buy his talent, which I mean the kid's good. He's decent. I guess I can't call him a kid. He's 34. Guy's pretty good. It's just wrestling is the best base to have. But if you're Chinny and you're fighting Cheaty, I'm very concerned. My pick is going to be Cheaty. The bet's going to be Cheaty, but you don't know what version you're getting of either of these guys. So just be careful betting this fight. But if you're going to, I'd bet Cheaty. Next fight of the night is I'm kind of on an island. We have Alex Perez at plus 155 going up against Manel Kopp at minus 180. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 120. Under 2.5 minus 150. Let's start with Manel Kopp because he's someone I like a lot. I think he's super cool. I didn't like him initially, but he did win me over. He has very good striking. He's very precise, kind of like Connor, where he doesn't hit super hard, but he's so precise when he fires that he always catches you in the right spot and gets the job done. Yeah, he has a 3-inch reach advantage here. He's at a good camp at Extreme Couture. He's fought really good guys over in Japan again. This guy got paid a lot to come to the UFC. It's someone that they kind of siphoned over from one championship. I mean, his jiu-jitsu sneaky good, man. He's a brown belt. We saw it in the last fight against David Dvorak. Like, he knows what he's doing on the ground. He has no slouch on the ground. But you can get him there. He has 69% takedown defense. That's very concerning. He's missed weight a few times, so you do have to be cautious of, he doesn't show that he's going to gas out. His cardio looked fine against Pantoja, looked fine when he went the distance against David Dvorak, but you just got to watch him with his scale stuff. But all in all, he's going to have a reach advantage. He has the better striking, more power, good camp, better schedule. Like the guy has everything going for him, except for one thing. That's 69% takedown defense. That does concern me. Especially going against Alex Perez, who is predominantly a wrestler. The best part of Alex Perez's game is his wrestling. So he's a good wrestler. His striking's not bad. He hits decently hard. He's very fast. Jiu-jitsu, on pedigree, I'm pretty sure he's a black belt, but he's very good offensively when it comes to his jiu-jitsu, but defensively, a little bit of a liability. Pantoja lost sub. Figueroa lost sub. Joseph Benavidez was ground and pound while he was on the ground. He had nothing to offer once he was on his back. He has 7 losses, so that's the last 3 losses. What's the fight before? What's the loss before that? He had Jared sub, Adam sub. Oh God, Edgar sub, John sub. Okay, so all of his losses are by submission, so that's very concerning. Don't get me wrong, he has a lot of he has submission wins as well with Kimuras and rear naked chokes. He can do it offensively, but defensively, he just doesn't seem to mind his P's and Q's down there. But that's his biggest thing, man. All in all, his striking's fine. He has crazy calf kicks, and we saw him finish Josier Formiga via leg kicks. The guy kicks very hard and he keeps doing it. You got to watch weigh-ins with him too. He's had a lot of canceled fights. Especially after his title. Oh my God, look at this. He fought for the title, then he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 canceled fights in a row. He finally gets a fight against Alexander Pantoja, gets choked out in 90 seconds, and then has 2 more canceled fights. Like, we don't know if this fight is actually gonna happen because out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, out of his last 9 scheduled fights, only 1 has happened. 8 have been canceled. So good luck watching this guy fight. He's 31. If he's gonna do the damn thing, he's got to do it now. And he is a very good fighter whenever he fights. Is he gonna have ring rust? Is he gonna get caught since he's only fought for 90 seconds in the last few years? I don't know, but I know that Perez is the hometown guy. He's from Texas. So if anything, if he does not get clipped on the feet, he can just wrestle his ass off. And if he goes out there with Manel Kopp's 69% takedown defense and lays and prays, if you lay and pray in Texas from Texas, you're going to win. My thing is Kopp he has a sneaky ground game. Is Perez going to mind his P's and Q's? Is he going to get caught on the feet? Is he going to take him down and then get caught in a sub? I don't know. My favorite plays, in all honesty, are Kopp by sub and Perez by decision. I like both of those plays. Both of them pay out well. Kopp was plus 600 by sub. Perez by decision was plus 550. They're both great bets. I would do both of those, in all honesty. The pick is going to be Kopp. I think he just has more ways to win. But if I'm betting it, I'm betting Perez, man. We're in Texas. He's stylistically a good matchup. He has a hometown advantage, and I'll take a wrestler over striker any day. So the pick is going to be Cop, but the bet is going to end up being Perez. All right, next fight of the night, we just need a little more juice, a little more hometown cooking, baby. We got Andrea KGB Lee at plus 200 going up against the future Macy Barber at minus 240. Over 2.5 is minus 265, under 2.5 at plus 210. Let's start with Andrea Lee. She is pretty good striking, really high volume. She's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. She has awesome cardio. She has a lot of good things going for her. Her biggest problem is her takedown defense. She has had a lot of UFC fights, and she's rocking a 50% takedown defense. That's not a good look. So they keep giving her people like Cynthia Calvillo, but her takedown defense looked good in that matchup. Viviana Araujo took her down multiple times and just laid on top of her. It was pretty easy. Roxanne Modafferi, Lauren Murphy all used takedowns to get the wins. So she has a pretty it's a pretty obvious Achilles heel. If you give her a wrestler, she's in a little bit of trouble. But in striking, she throws a ton of volume. It looks good, and she does well in that area. They're giving her Macy Barber, who's 24 years old and is predominantly a striker, but she trains at Team Alpha Male, which is a wrestling camp. So it's weird. Like I don't know what Macy's game plan is going to be. Her wrestling has improved a lot, but it's improved a lot on a defensive standpoint. People have trouble taking her down. She was training with Duke Rufus over at Rufus Sport. She developed good striking there. She has decent power, pretty good cardio for her as well. But you can take her down a little bit. She went over to Team Alpha Male, where they're predominantly all wrestlers, worked on her defensive wrestling, and now she has good striking. She's hard to take down, so she can dictate where the fight goes. But she's not really offensively wrestling. So is this going to be a stand-up fight where Andrea Lee just throws more volume and outpoints her? Is Macy going to utilize where she's training at and take her down? I don't know what's going to happen here. But I know that it's a very close fight on the feet. And I know that Andrea Lee is plus 200. I know Andrea Lee throws more volume. And I know Andrea Lee is from Texas. And this is in Texas. And this is like the darling of Texas. Like they love this girl. So for that reason, you got to go with the dog here. Even if Macy wins, I think you could see an ultimate just screw job and Andrea Lee coming out with the W. So the pick is going to be Andrea Lee. The bet's going to be Andrea Lee. Next fight of the night, we have Nate Landwehr minus 265 going up against Austin Lingo at plus 225. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 100. Under 2.5 minus 130. Let's start with Austin Lingo because he was supposed to fight just a few weeks ago here. He was supposed to fight Ricardo Ramos. Ramos couldn't make weight. So now Lingo did make weight, and now he's fighting just a few weeks later here. I don't really know with Lingo. I don't think he's that great, but I do know that he's 28. He's improving, had a ton of injuries, which is why he had such a long layoff. We haven't seen him in 2 years as well. But I know he trains at Fortis MMA, so he's the hometown camp guy. So you got to be cognizant of that. His takedown defense is sketchy. Yusuf Zalal took him down 6 times, and Yusuf Zalal is a striker from Morocco. So why are you getting taken down 6 times by that guy? I mean, Austin striking's fine. He had a whole bunch of knockouts in the regional scene, but when he came to the UFC, you're not seeing any power whatsoever. It's just a different league up here. His cardio seems to check out. It seems just fine. But all in all, he's just kind of like a pressure forward, kind of a little bit of a body bag himself. He gets hit a ton, and you can take him down with ease. But his striking's okay when he's on the feet, just not a lot of power. On the flip side, God, we have Nate Landwehr. I don't even know what to say about this guy. He's a pressure fighter for sure. He loves to go forward and break you. Like, he doesn't want to beat you. He wants to break you. He wants to take your will. He's high volume himself. His jiu-jitsu sneaky good. It's not bad at all. We saw him use it against Ledevitt Klein just recently. He has an 86% takedown defense. He was over there fighting Russian killers before he came to the UFC over there at M1 Global, which is like one of the toughest regional scenes, and just kicking ass over there. I'm pretty sure he had some steroid issues along the way, but he's looked really good. He's 34 years old. This is prime Nate Landwehr. We're not going to ever see a better version of this guy. Um, he has really good cardio. They're going to talk about him being like a track star when he was in college. I know he's from Tennessee. I don't remember if he went to school at Tennessee as well. But yeah, good cardio, good striking, 86% takedown defense. So this is probably going to be predominantly on the feet. He pressures forward. He's an MMA Masters with Colby. They have some decent fighters there. And he just marches forward and breaks you. He is a pressure guy. He is going to be in your face the entire time. And he's generally pretty durable. I know Julian Erosa knocked him out. It was interesting. He was definitely out, but he popped right back up afterwards. Herbert Burns knocked him out. I know that looks very bad, but that was just unfortunate timing. That was a knee again as he was going in for a takedown. Herbert just caught him with the perfect knee. And you can, as tough as you are, if a grown man knees you in the right spot, like there's nothing you can do. But outside of that, he's not really getting knocked out at all. Those are his only 2 knockouts. So I think Nate's pretty good. So as much as he annoys me, I think he should absolutely crush here. My only concern is that Austin is he trains in Texas. So I would lock Nate Landwehr if he wasn't fighting a Texas guy. I don't want to lock anyone that's fighting someone from Texas. So the pick is gonna be Nate. The bet is gonna be Nate, and I think he wins this pretty comfortably. All right, then we're to the co-main event of the evening. We have Holly Holm, Preacher's daughter, minus 215, going up against Yana Kutinskaya, aka Yana Santos. Now that she married Tiago Santos, plus 185. Over 2.5 is minus 280. Under 2.5 at plus 220. Let's start with Holly Holm, former champ. Very, very, very good striking. Wrestling has come a long way. She doesn't necessarily take you down, but she will hold you up against the fence and work a ton of control time there. She just kind of works it in. Very good cardio. She'll go the entire 15 minutes with ease. She's used to fighting 25-minute fights. She has a 78% takedown defense herself. So before you would just want to take her down because you were scared to strike with her. Like she is legendary striking. A lot of records over in like kickboxing and Muay Thai. Like she's a very, very good striker. She's very, very strong. The girl that head kicked Ronda Rousey and took the title from her. The biggest problem with Holly Holm, the only problem with Holly Holm, is 41. It's not a spring chicken. She's one of these people that no matter the age seems to be doing just fine, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention she is 41 years old. It's very concerning. At some point she's going to slow down. She's going to catch the wrong girl. Her last fight against Ketlin Vieira, I thought she won. I thought it was a little bit of a screw job there. So, and Ketlin Vieira is a top 10 girl. So as long as she's fighting, if she's still beating people in the top 5, top 10, I'm fine with it. Irene Aldana is a top 10 girl. She went out there and made it look easy. Rocky Pennington's a top 5 girl. She went out there, she made it look easy. I mean, her losses are to Chris Cyborg, up a weight class, who's a straight killer. Amanda Nunez, obviously the lady goat. She lost to Jermaine Durandamy in a very sketchy, weird fight. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko before anyone knew about Valentina, and that was back in 2016. And she lost to Miesha Tate. She beat the shit out of Miesha Tate. And then Miesha Tate caught her in a rear naked choke with 2 minutes left in the fight. So that was just unfortunate. So she has only lost to champions, literally. I don't think Yana Kutinskaya is a champion. Yana Kutinskaya, she has okay striking. That's about it. Her jiu-jitsu's not that good. If you take her down, you can't really get off of her back. She has nothing to offer down there if Holly decides to take her down. She's very aggressive. She throws a ton and it looks like it hurts, but she doesn't have a ton of knockouts on her record. She doesn't exactly hit hard. She's very aggressive. That's all I can say. She does even slow down in fights. We saw her in the third round against Aspen Ladd just get run through. We saw her in a close fight against Julia Stolyarenko. That's not a good look. Ketlin Vieira, it's showing a win, but she did not. She got taken down, and she was throwing little pot shots on the ground. Vieira just didn't throw anything for whatever reason. Vieira was on top of her. She had like 13 minutes of control time and lost the fight. It was a very, very odd fight. I have no idea what to say about that fight, but again, Marion Renault, Lena Landsberg, like these wins are nothing compared to what Holly Holm has done. Holly Holm is head and shoulders the better fighter. Holly Holm, you're getting a steal of a value at minus 215. It's just she's 41 and she's gonna slow eventually, but Yana's not that guy. So pick is gonna be Holly Holm. Pick and bet are both Holly Holm. Minus 215 is a steal. And then the last fight of the night is our main event. If you haven't, for whatever reason, make sure you give this video a like, hit the subscribe button over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're taking over one platform at a time. We have Marlon Chito Vera plus 115, Corey Sandhagen minus 175. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is minus 150. Under 4.5 at plus 120. Let's start with Corey Sandhagen. I like Corey a lot. He's very, very good striking, maybe like top 3 in the division. His cardio is really good. He never gets tired. He can fight for days. His jiu-jitsu sneaky, man. He has sneaky good jiu-jitsu. I know he's been tapped out before. Aljo tapped him out just a few years ago, clearly. But his losses, I mean, Jamal Emmers is a great fighter. Aljo Sterling, great fighter. And if they rematch, I don't know if Corey loses again. TJ Dillashaw, that fight was weird. I thought Corey won. I think he got screwed in that fight, but it is what it is. Dana kind of thought the same thing. That's why he lost to TJ and got a title fight. That's not normal. But then he fought Peter Yan, and he did lose a very, very close fight, but he outvolumed him, and Peter Yan was a champ. So again, his losses. Jamal Emmers, who actually is a featherweight now, so he lost to a bigger guy who's very good in the UFC. He lost to the current champ. He lost to a former champ and a very sketchy one, and then he lost to another former champ. He is another one who only loses to champions. Very high volume, very good schedule. The only knock I have on Corey, this takedown defense, 63% takedown defense. Not good. Not good at all. It's a good get up game. Once you take him down, he's popping right back up, but it doesn't seem that hard to get him down. On the flip side, we have Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera, his striking's okay, but I think it's a little overrated. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. I will give him, he has very good jiu-jitsu. You just don't see it a lot because he never wrestles. And part of that is because he can't. He himself is rocking a 68% takedown defense, so not much better. I remember DC making a comment about John Jones. He said John Jones doesn't hit hard, he kicks hard. And that's how I feel about Chito Vera. Chito Vera's little knockout run, Frankie Yeager, kick, Dominic Cruz, kick. Like, that's how he's winning these fights. They're just, excuse me, he doesn't hit that hard. He's not some sort of crazy power puncher. His win streak's very questionable, man. I mean, the Sean O'Malley fight, I thought Sean O'Malley was dominating, and then he rolled his ankle or whatever happened there. And then all of a sudden, Cheeto just kind of hopped on top, and that was it. But Sean just fell to the ground because he hurt his ankle. Jose Aldo, that was a close fight. Aldo got one over on him. I mean, Aldo's he's good. David Grant was actually winning. He won the first round. And then Cheeto came back and he won, but you shouldn't be in a close fight like that against David Grant. Frankie Yeager was winning that fight. Frankie Yeager is like 45 years old. Frankie Yeager was winning that fight. It was very close, but I was giving the advantage to Frankie. Then he got caught with a front kick, and although he was losing, he came back and he got a knockout. Rob Font outstruck Chito Vera by 100 significant strikes. Rob Font, technically on paper, you would think won that fight. Rob Font has no chin. So Rob Font would outstrike Cheeto like 60-10 in a round. And then all of a sudden, Cheeto would land one big kick and Rob would fall down and Cheeto would win the round. All 5 rounds, Rob Font outstruck Chito Vera. But he got rocked in all 5 rounds, so Cheeto won the fight. He didn't look good. I was not impressed. Dominic Cruz is another 40-year-old man, was beating the absolute shit out of Chito Vera, and then he got caught with a head kick in round 4. Like, this whole thing where he does the Kennedy Njoku rope-a-dope thing where he lets you beat him up and then he catches you with something and puts you away. That's all fine and dandy against 40-year-old men. Davey Grant's almost 40. Frankie Yeager is 40. Rob Font just has no chin. Dom Cruz 40. I'm not impressed by this run. Corey Sandhagen's not fucking 40 years old. Corey Sandhagen's a better striker. Is a better striker than everyone I had just mentioned. And Corey Sandhagen's never been knocked out. So unless this happens, all of a sudden he's going out, which just my luck would happen. Corey Sandhagen is the much better fighter, and you're getting him at a great value at minus 170. Marlon Vera has infinite cardio. He has great cardio. It's very, very good. I'll give him that. He never gets tired. But Corey can go for days, and he can go for 5 rounds as well. So the pick is going to be Corey. The bet is going to be Corey. I love Corey this week, but this whole Marlon, I don't believe in Marlon Vera. He keeps proving me wrong. It's got to stop at some point. So pick is Corey, bet is Corey, and that's the card, man. It's a great card, especially a free card. Don't forget it starts a little earlier this week. We are on a roll with picks. I don't want to jinx it at all, but we're on a roll. Let's trust the process. Let's trust the system. Let's trust the Stats and Stacks podcast. Let's get paid, baby.